What you are also doing is dry blood microscopy. Can you explain this?
Well, you know, I wrote a paper on this. I don't know if you've read my paper.
No,
on
I
this.
didn't do that.
Okay, it's called Pathological Blood Coagulation.
Okay.
Okay, one of the things that has been studied for years is answering this question, and I did it as one of my thesis papers for one of my doctorate degrees. It's called Pathological Blood Coagulation. You can read it. It's kind of an interesting article. I need to update it and rewrite it, but it's still good. The basis of it's still good, even though I wrote it, 20 years ago. I would just update it with new information. But the question is this: why does blood coagulate inside the blood vessel? That's the question.
To protect.
Yeah. So that was the question. And biochemically, no one knows the answer. They just know it does. Okay? So that was the basis of my thesis, to answer that question. And I answered the question. I hope you like the answer. Okay? So when I was studying blood coagulation, I was also looking at it under the microscope. And I was noticing a difference between people who were healthy and people who were unhealthy. The coagulation was different in the way the blood clotted. Okay? The other thing that I realized as I was looking at this is the people that had poor coagulation in the clot that were at the center of this dried clotted blood had problems in the center of their body. And when I was looking at blood that had imperfections in the clot that were mid-specific, not towards the edge, but right halfway out from center. So you have this clotted blood. Blood, when it clots, it forms a circle. Okay? Unless, now that I know, sometimes it'll be an irregular circle when there's a deficiency in alkalinity. There's a deficiency in antioxidants. When we put the antioxidants in, whatever form we put in, it tightens up and it forms a very nice round circle. Okay? And the blood hypercoagulates in a healthy person. So you have a nice clot that's tied together with black lines, and those lines are made of proteins. They're called fibrin monomers, and they cross-link, and they form this clot. Well, I was finding in patterns in the clotted blood, when there was imperfections in the center, that dealt with the core. When they were mid-specific out, the thoracic cavity, and when they went all the way out to the edge, imperfections, then that dealt with the skin, the hands and the feet and the extremities. And so it dawned on me one day that this drop of blood was a friggin' analog. It was of the whole human body, And so I put the Leonardo da Vinci man on the drop of blood, and I could relate specifically. So if someone has prostate problems, there's a marker now. There's a pattern for that. And without doing any other tests, I know what's going on in every organ of the body, just the way the blood clots. And I've been doing this now 3 decades.
How long has it to be dried?
It dries in about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. It coagulates, the blood coagulates quite rapidly. If it doesn't clot rapidly, then you've got some clotting problems. But when it's exposed to oxygen, it'll immediately start coagulating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't add any
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Coagulants? Absolutely
not,
and
because
the glass.
Yeah. No. Just I put 8 drops of blood. I slice it off. So I take a finger prick. I bead the blood up, and then I slice it off. And so we'll start out with the top, which is the cream. That's all the temporary situations. That's now. It represents today. And then I'll just slice it off, and it goes all the way back to when you were born. So your whole history, everything is literally lined right on a slide, right in front of my face. Okay. And so then I'll evaluate each one of those levels based upon your lifestyle and diet and how it's impacting the organs. And then from there, it matches up perfectly to the thermography. It matches up perfectly to the ultrasound. It matches up perfectly to 3D functionality tests, because they all integrate with each other, because it's actually a manifestation or a hologram of you and what's going on. And it's the most accurate information. We're talking about high 90% accuracy on these types of tests, versus have ending up with traditional or conventional tests that give you false positives or false negatives, particularly with mammograms, which is very, very common. Do you get a false positive or a false negative? We know exactly what's going on in the breast, but this is not available, and it should be. Isn't that unfortunate? So, I mean, here you are. This is something that you can introduce to this particular area of the world, and rightfully so. I mean, each one teach one, I say. And you teach me, and I'll teach you, and we'll help everybody.